Good evening, everybody. This is episode 2 of my Lightroom tutorial of wildlife. Today's episode is going to be on a moose. The moose that we have in front of us was photographed last week, either Wednesday or Thursday, right at sunset. Got some really nice shots of a bull moose, as you can see here. This was photographed in the middle of the day, harsh lighting. I thought it was still pretty cool to capture him, but nothing I'm going to work with. But he got some great shots, a lot of head downs, facing away from me. The side profiles was actually a great one. I didn't see this one. I've already picked out this one shot. I think it looks really great. I got a good bokeh on the foreground and the background too. And the moose is in pretty good detail. I'm incorporating some of the comments that I got from my last tutorial about being more specific, getting to the point. So that's what I'm going to try to incorporate here. I want to make these episodes right on point. So let's get started. Here we can see some of the quick settings. 1/60 of a second, f8, which is good clarity, low ISO, 700 millimeter. I'm using my 500 millimeter over 1.4 teleconverter. So off the bat, my white balance was set at 5,000. I'm gonna set this to 5,500 to give me a little bit more warmth of what I had in the field. It was like golden hour. It was about 20 minutes before sunset. The second thing I'm gonna do is obviously I am gonna put the profiles on the lens. If your Lightroom doesn't let you select this, you go in here, select your camera, your lens type, and it automatically should pick it most of the time unless it's a really old lens. And as you can see, that fixes the profile, fixes some of the brightness and curvature of the image. So we set the white balance. I'm going to add a little bit of exposure. Quick little note, you never want to go under or over by one stop. When I mean one stop is literally 1.0. After that, you start getting blown. Your image starts getting blown out. So you want to make this image as correctly as you can in the field. So I'm just gonna add 0.5 here. Good enough exposure. Maybe just a little bit of contrast, not too much. Remember, subtle highlights. Dim that background a little bit, just a tad. But add those shadows. Want to bring the lights on those shadows so we can see that moose really nice, clear in detail. There we go. A little bit more warmth. You know what? I'm gonna increase this just a little bit to maybe 0.75. Well, I haven't edited this shot yet, so we're doing this all in a go. Our whites, remember, we're gonna hit the Alt button. If you saw my last tutorial, you don't want to go past where you start seeing these color pixels, because then that's when you start clipping the image and start getting blown out. So now we know we don't go over 60 on the whites, too much. So I will go about 40, get a little bit of whites, bring that color out more. Same thing with blacks. You don't want to go past where you start seeing pixels. So we're clipping it. -2, we'll keep it at 0. Clarity. So we talked about this before. My little technique is dropping that clarity all the way, and then we color in the moose. I'm gonna stick with a -70, get that soft foreground and soft background. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit our brush, adjustment brush up here. So like that, and we're gonna start drawing. Make my brush bigger with using my mouse wheel, or you can use your size it up here. Mouse wheel is easier. We start texturing in. Now you can't see what I'm doing here. Go to show selected mask overlay, the bottom of your image. Select that. What's red is what you're coloring. So we're coloring our moose. Make sure he's the one that's going to get just the clarity detail. He's not going to get it. He's actually just going to retain it. He's going to keep it. The rest of the image will get that soft profile look. And it's okay if you go out of the boundaries because it's a background. The background's already got that soft look to it because the way the lens is. It's already got a soft background for the bokeh. So we're going to color that in. If you want to be a little perfectionist, you hold the Alt button. See that plus? Turns into a negative. I'm erasing. Put that back. I'm just going to erase this little edge here. Here we go. Went out of the boundaries. call that detail, detail, detail. And I'm going to bring that to 70. As you can see, here's 0, 4, bring that to 70 so it's a neutral on the moose, and it's done. Texture is a new tool that Lightroom just added in 2019. It's able to sharpen more texture without destroying the picture. So if you look here, I'll zoom in, I add that texture, makes it very grungy looking from far away. You see that? Before, after, all the way. So again, I want to keep that soft look. I'm going to drop down to like -50. Go back into adjustment brush, select what you just did with the clarity. You click on that, show it, and add 50 here for the adjustment that you just did on the globally in the picture. That gives you your moose. See now we have that. That's nice and sharp on the moose. Your eye goes to the moose right away. We got a good soft foreground. There's two techniques to the tone curve. If you go to your tone curve, if you select where it says edit, click to edit point curve, if you select that, you can make your own adjustments here on the wheel. I'll undo. Control Z undoes what you just did. So I undid those. But if you select on it, you have the regions, your highlights, and your lights, darks, and shadows. So see what happens here. See that? See his antlers, bright, dark, too fake. So I'm gonna keep that neutral. I like that. Lights darkens the picture, brightens it too much. Remember, I like gradual edits, nothing dramatic. And then darks, give it a little more light. See, in that way, I'm not mixing with exposure. I'm just adding more light to the darks and shadows and lights. And the shadows, the moose, again, if you go too much, see that? All the way, way blown out. Or, I don't even know what's going on there, so ignore that. Very subtle. You don't even have to. Just keep it at 0. Split toning, remember this will add color to your highlights and your shadows area. So in my highlights, which is like my background, my more brighter areas, I'm gonna add that a little purple hue to it, just because it was sunset and it was very that golden hour had a little purplish tint to it. I think it's a little bit more vibe. So again, if I go too much, not that much. Like I said, very subtle. You can even tell, but it's there. It's really faint there. And here we could give the moose more detail. Again, these are your shadows. We'll give it a little bit of brownish. There. Here's after, before. See how subtle that is? And even that's too much, I think. Let's see if I lower this. Before, after. Yeah, it's better. Our sharpening. Remember, we're gonna hold Alt. I'm gonna bring this down so you can see the changes. And you're gonna hold Alt and move your mask and just get the outline. Remember, adding, sharpening your image will introduce noise to it, and we don't want to do that. So that's why I only do the outlines. So here's the outline. You can see the antlers outlined, the moose, some of the sage there, and then I'm going to zoom in. Let's zoom in here. So here's no sharpening. It barely has any, and I'm going to add. All right, let's see. This is after, before. See that? That's great. But see this white line? We want to be careful with that. It's adding chromatic. We'll reduce that, and I went over boundary. Before, after. Much better. It is before, after. You really can't see it, but like that subtle. So when you print this on a large image, it's going to have a more defined edge to your photograph. Noise reduction, we talked about this before. If you shoot low ISO, the D850 camera that I use, It's very good with noise. So I don't tend to use noise reduction at all unless I'm shooting 6400, maybe 3200. I'll add some. But here's what happens. I'm going to show you. Here's your moose. If you add noise reduction, it's going to look like a watercolor painting. I'm going to go all the way to 100. See how it blends in? What noise reduction does is grabs the 2 pixels, and then it grabs information and makes a pixel in the middle, pretty much, as I understand it. So it makes it smoother instead of having that noise. So we give it down. And vignetting, it's really interesting. I like doing vignetting sometimes. Let's see. If you go back, you had a black vignette. If you go right, you get that white vignette. You got a really subtle midpoint. Like I said, subtle changes around this. Now, I'm going to show you all the way. Here's your roundness. See that? But I don't like. I do very subtle. Feathering is whether it's a tight roundness, so soft, or just very edgy. I like blend. That's a good blend. And what vignetting does is it draws your eye right into the middle of your photograph. Again, remember the rules of third. See, no cropping. I haven't done any cropping. It's just right. My second line here is right on the moose's eye. Gray alignment with the moose on the horizontal lines, on the bottom, and then the top one almost on the eye. If you really want to get perfect, you can bring this just up to the right, and here you go. Line it up with the eye. This lines up this vertical and this horizontal, and this is almost the top of the moose. And there you go. More you could get, if you really want to get into it, you can look up the golden rule and how those work. But rules of third, I recommend you look at that. And that is it, folks. Moose said it. I'm gonna be posting this on my Instagram, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Like I said before, if you really like these episodes, I'm gonna try doing these 2 or 3 a week. Subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at @1_nature_photo. It'll be below this video, also the link. But subscribe, like it, view it. That'll drive me to do more episodes, since I know people will start liking these more. I know my channel is new and it's not getting a lot of movement, but I'm hoping within time we'll have a bigger audience to work with, and I'm constantly photographing different types of wildlife. So I hope to see you guys next episode 3. Definitely we'll be working on that owl episode 3, and then we'll see where we go from there, either a landscape shot or another wildlife. We'll put it up for vote on the gram. Have a good night, everybody. Happy Veterans Day.